The government constructed a space city to provide shelter for people amidst the deserted and barren Earth. However, children who behaved poorly were punished by being sent to Earth without knowledge of their fate. They were either to become food for monsters or turn into monsters themselves. The population sought refuge in the Celestial Ark when the monsters invaded Earth. But the Ark was too small to accommodate everyone, and the government expelled the orphaned and impoverished children. In response, a group of rebellious teenagers led by Rags, a boy with 13 marks, were sent to Earth and established a camp to fight against the monsters. The other orphans look up to him as their savior, convinced that he will rescue them one day. Suddenly, a space capsule lands on Earth, and Rusty breaks into it to rescue a red-haired boy, guiding him away from danger. He then gathers the young group and instructs them to seek shelter until the monsters finish their hunt. Rusty invites the new boy to join them, and the other teenagers notice 13 marks on his arm, the most they have ever seen. The company celebrates with great enthusiasm, welcoming the arrival of but Rags is left confused by the teenagers' reaction. After receiving a bow, Rags takes aim at a monster, but the girls mock him for lacking the courage to be a hero. Nonetheless, Rags manages to hit the monster. Despite this, one of the girls, Ash, disregards her boyfriend Rusty's objections and emerges from hiding to finish off the alien. The group then shows Rags the monster hive, where they guard blue drops that can heal any wound. However, the monsters are too formidable, and no one dares to approach the hive without a boy possessing 13 marks. The elders put the younger children to bed, and the camp prepares to rest. In solitude, Rags takes out a glass ball from his pocket, using it to observe the flying ark. Memories of his father flood Rags' mind, recalling how he refused to disclose the names of his accomplices to the judge, resulting in his execution before his son's eyes. As a consequence, Rags was exiled to Earth, informed that his father was a traitor. Meanwhile, the young friends eagerly await the awakening of their new protector, intending to offer him the best piece of meat they have. However, Rags feels uneasy about their high expectations for 13, as he does not see himself as a hero. Lily invites her friend out for a good time before the looming threat of being eaten by monsters, but her unconventional idea of fun surprises Rags. She challenges him to a fight and proves to be much stronger than him, presenting him with a handmade sword made from a pipe. Ember, Lily's sister, persuades her young companion to accompany her to the junkyard, where they spy on the couple, who are reminiscing about the peaceful life on the Ark while observing it from afar. Rags shows his girlfriend the glass ball and confides in her about his father, who had promised to take him to the ocean. However, the boy admits to being unsure about whether to believe his father's stories, as he had betrayed the government. The group's conversation abruptly ends when they hear children screaming. Rags quickly takes hold of his girlfriend and they both head back to the camp, thinking that it was just a prank. Rags expresses his desire to leave and visit the ocean, and the group leader agrees to his request. While on their way, Sentinel notices a monster in Ember, who had been injured by the monster. Unfortunately, Birdie, Ember's young friend, is nowhere to be found except for her glasses. The team lacks the blue drops that are required to heal Ember, and Rags feels responsible for finding them. Together with Rusty, they set out to locate the healing fluid, leaving Lily in charge of the camp. When they arrive at the hive, the boys encounter a monster girl who attacks them. The boys continue their journey, but are faced with an even more terrifying monster, an Iron Man who is chained to the wall. Despite their fear, they decide to fight back. However, the monster proves to be too powerful and Rusty is taken away, leaving Rags alone. He returns to camp empty-handed and sees Lily saying farewell to her sister. Rags hesitates to inform Lily that they no longer have the blue drops and ends up fleeing to his damaged shuttle to hide from everyone. After setting up a new camp, he tries to erase the marks on his arm, no longer wishing to be a hero. He discards the glass ball, but picks it up again, realizing it is the only memento he has left of his past life. With these thoughts in his mind, Rags goes to sleep. As Rags wakes up, he sees a boy next to him who has just been banished to Earth. Initially, Rags tries to shoo him away, but when they hear a monster nearby, the boy 13 allows the new guest to hide with him in the capsule. The boy reveals that he was sent to Earth with a mission to find someone with the 13th markings because the authorities want him back. To aid in this mission, a camera has been implanted in his eye by the station government. Though Rags tries to get rid of him, he feels sympathy for 13 and allows him out of the pod. The two boys must work together, and 13 decides to teach Skunk some fighting skills. Unbeknownst to Rags, Lily sneaks up on him and strikes him on the head. After catching up with Lily, Rags discovers that all the children at camp are dead, and she blames him for their deaths, saying that if he hadn't allowed his friend to escape, it wouldn't have happened. Skunk asks Rags about the origin of the camp at the dump, and he responds that it was set up by the hero with the 13 marks. But he is now deceased, and there is no point in searching for him. As she leaves, Lily informs Rags that she will accomplish what he could not, and he assumes that she is referring to obtaining the blue drops. He hastily packs up and sets off to find his girlfriend, but the persistent 13 insists on accompanying him, refusing to take a step away. Unfortunately, 13's loud behavior attracts the attention of a monster, but surprisingly, Ash appears out of nowhere. While Lily tracks down the monsters, the others proceed upwards, and Rags notices a piece of Rusty's armor in Ash's possession. Lily accuses 13 of being responsible for the destruction of the camp. Despite this setback, Rags is determined to fight the monsters and retrieve the blue drops. Skunk joins Rags again, leaving Ash behind in the shelter, but she soon catches up with them, believing they have no chance of succeeding without her. Having spent time at the monster lair, Ash has become familiar with the layout and guides the boys to a spot with a clear view of the monsters. Rags spots the large monster he recognizes and the group attempts to attack him, but Ash is struck by a rock and is in danger of being captured. This time, Rags decides not to flee and bravely confronts the giant, defeating him with a single blow. Ash appears saddened as she gazes at the large man's body, bidding farewell to the boys and expressing that they are now responsible for their own well-being. When Skunk inquires about the number of marks, Ash dismisses the question, believing it to be unimportant. Lily awakens in the custody of a monstrous being but manages to break free and flee. The boys traverse through a corridor adorned with old rags, reminiscent of an outdated dormitory. Skunk's boisterous behavior agitates Rags, who fears that it may attract the attention of the creatures once more. 13 spots a banner indicating that the Ark is breeding monsters, prompting everyone to hide. Rags becomes aware that the banished children are being used as food for the purpose-bred monsters that aim to dominate humans, while his father has been battling against it all along. As the boys hear the monster's voice getting closer, Skunk starts to panic. To soothe his friend, Rags displays his hand and praises him as a hero for finding the target he was sent after. However, Skunk's anxiety persists, and when they hear a menacing growl, he runs off in fear. Left to face the giant monster alone, Rags initially decides to surrender but then changes his mind and returns to join the fight. Together, they manage to defeat the monster. Rags promises to turn himself into the young agent but only after he locates Lily. Skunk falls prey to a trap triggered by a chain, which drags him into the hunter's lair despite Rags' efforts to calm him down and rescue him. Meanwhile, Lily comes up with the idea of covering herself in dirt to blend in with the monsters and successfully escapes, despite the frightening experience. Rags discovers his girlfriend's abandoned backpack, which contains mementos of deceased friends, and adds Skunk's toy to it. He carries the backpack with him and attaches a glass ball to it, hoping that it will give him strength to face the challenges ahead. While battling two monsters, Rags manages to defeat one but is immediately confronted by even hungrier monsters in its place. Despite the challenges, the warrior manages to overcome the formidable creatures using their own traps and presses on, hopeful that Lily is still alive. Meanwhile, Lily is practicing the monster's gait and does not notice Rags entering the room. He attacks the monster from behind, but Lily fights back, and he soon realizes that his healthy friend is in front of him. Though they argue, both are delighted to see each other again. As a token of appreciation, Lily even kisses Rags, hinting that she has forgiven him for betraying her and running away. Hand in hand, the friends embark on a quest to retrieve the blue drops, a magical liquid that can heal any wound. Their happiness is short-lived as they are confronted by another monster, which Rags would have easily defeated if it weren't for the fact that it was his old friend Rusty. As he looks at his former friend, Rags discovers a horrifying truth: all monsters were once children who were banished to Earth. He drops his sword, no longer willing to harm his own kind, and resigns himself to death at the hands of Rusty. However, Rusty has no intention of killing them. His guards bring the pair to their knees, and the leader offers them a drink of blue drops. Rags refuses to join the monsters and knocks the glass away, prompting a fight between him and Rusty. At this point, it is unclear which of them is stronger. Ash saves the day by realizing that her boyfriend has changed into a monster, and by shooting an arrow, she frees her friends. Despite her love for him, she admits that he's not the same person anymore. She remains behind to express her love for him, but he attacks her. Rags understands that the only way to defeat the monster is by turning into one himself. He ingests a glass ball covered in blue liquid and transforms into a monster, battling Rusty with newfound strength. The two boys engage in a lengthy sword fight using weapons they made themselves. However, when it comes time to strike the final blow, Rags chooses to spare Rusty's life. He tries to reason with his former friend, reminding him of the strong bond they once shared. However, they must flee as the old building is on the verge of collapse. Rags grabs a large piece of debris and urges his girlfriend to leave with him. Surprisingly, an infected friend comes to their aid. Rusty grabs the debris and pursues them, deciding to stay behind and save his friends. Unfortunately, the debris falls, trapping Rusty beneath it. Lily regains her senses and sees her partner with the markings of a monster on his face. She embraces him, and they are finally able to leave the ruins. The group makes their way to the ocean shore, with Ash leading Skunk, who miraculously survived his encounter with the monster. Rag shows his friends the glass ball and reveals that they must journey to the Ark to defeat the real monster, the one responsible for taking his father away. He asks Skunk to remove his blindfold and report to the upstairs crew that he has found an orphan with 13 marks on his arm. The friends raise their hands, showing their readiness, and the space shuttles race towards the Ark to join them.